For more, let's bring in Princeton University political scientist Lauren Wright. Great to have you with us today, Lauren. There's a lot I would love to get your take on. Let me begin with the protests. The pro-Palestinian, some people have said, anti-Israel protests. This has been a real major story, not just on Ivy League campuses where you are, but I think more broadly speaking across the country. We see their pictures from Washington. What's behind this? I can't remember in my lifetime this sort of outpouring in support. Sometimes it's pro-Palestinian, sometimes, frankly, it's pro-Hamas, and I simply can't remember a time in my life before seeing this.
Well, the American public feels pretty similarly, and so that's why what's going on at universities is pretty unthinkable to the majority of Americans. I think about this from a public opinion standpoint. Watching these student protesters destroy some campuses, commit violence in some cases, most Americans look at that and they say, you're getting hundreds of millions of dollars. What are you doing there? And universities have had a really poor response. You know, even the majority of university presidents say they've done a poor job explaining exactly what we do at college campuses and whether college is worth it. And so on each of these issues we've been talking about, immigration and deportations, Israel, Palestine, cutting government spending, the issues that are sparking the protests, those are the issues where Trump has the highest approval ratings, but Democrats are digging in and placing more emphasis on those issues.
You know what? And this is going to be a real challenge for them. People don't realize this. Maybe not so much in the midterms, but I think as you get closer to 2028, this is a real reckoning for a number of Americans who simply don't share that value. And I'm not just talking about people on the right. Let me get your perspective on the hands-off protests that are ongoing. You've heard about them happening not just here today, but around the globe. Your impression of what's happening and why that seems to be percolating more so now than ever.
Well, again, Trump's moves on cutting government spending so far have not cut into his approval ratings. He's got about 50% approval on what he's trying to do to save taxpayers' money. That's totally different than tariffs, by the way, or the economy, where he's slipping. He's at about 40% on those issues. But these protests simply don't have the energy that we've seen in the past. I don't know what the political calculation is for Democrats. Of course, there's lots of logistical and substantive ways this could go very badly. But for a lot of voters, they're giving Trump leeway because they're saying, hey, if Democrats really wanted to cut spending, why didn't they try to do that? So they're willing to give the sledgehammer approach, if you will, a chance. They want to see what happens.
And it's still very early in the game. I think a lot of the hand-wringing in Washington, for example, is a byproduct of people not being used to seeing major changes, and we're only a couple of months in. In the last 45 seconds or so that I have left with you, I'd be remiss if I didn't get your take on what's happening in politics. Let me share this from Politico, a headline telling about a poll where AOC leads Chuck head-to-head in a New York primary matchup by double digits. Surprise you or not at all?
No, because she's much more well-known. She's much more popular, but she's also much more progressive. And so this is where Democrats need to be really careful heading into 2028. They could go even further left than Kamala Harris. She didn't win. You know, Joe Biden was their last guy to win. And so if they do put all their eggs in the AOC progressive resistance basket, that will have real costs, but absolutely she's more popular than Chuck Schumer, especially on the left. Not surprising.
Yeah, one of the things I'd love to talk about, especially with political scientists, is sort of the evolution of some of these candidates. Sometimes they are really, let's just say, far to the right or far to the left, but somehow, some way, they begin to sort of slide to the center. I wouldn't be surprised if AOC slides just a bit to the center, just a little bit, maybe to improve her overall push for maybe much higher office. We'll all be watching together. Lauren Wright, always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy some ice cream up there in Princeton. Great town, great part of the country. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.